Hello, my name is Dorte Rosen. I'm a goldsmith in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and today I'm going to talk about Spinel, which is the alternative birthstone for August. So the very first thing I want to say about that is how to spell it. Spinel is spelled S-P-I-N-E-L. Many people wonder what this gemstone is. They have not heard about it, and it is my job as your goldsmith to educate you and share my knowledge, which I love doing. Spinel is a gem I'm very fond of. I was introduced to it by Pierre Descharmes, my gem merchants in Montreal, and I've been very grateful ever since, and I love using it. And I'm going to try to tell you about it today. Spinel is a gem which I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you more in detail later, but it is very red oftentimes, and therefore was throughout history confused with ruby a lot. So much so that it was actually only in the 18th century that scientists were able to figure out the difference in terms of science of Spinel versus Corundum, which is the base mineral, the same mineral for sapphire as well as ruby. And so it's very easy that it would be confused between the two, because Spinel is also found in the same areas as Corundum or often ruby. So these areas would be Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and Tajikistan. Those are the areas where Spinel is found, oftentimes alongside deposits of Corundum, which again is that mineral that makes sapphire/ruby. And many of the gems, large gems throughout history that have been thought to be rubies are actually spinels, such as the big red gem in the British crown jewels, which actually have a very long history because they started out as being being called the Black Prince ruby. They changed hands a few times, basically as part of war loot and or being given for a having lost a battle, and in the end they ended up in the crown jewels. And in fact, speaking about the crown jewels, that gem has survived a lot: fires, theft attempts, bomb raids during World War II, all that kind of stuff, and it's still there. So that's for the chutzpah of Spinel. So much for that. And what gives Spinel its color? Oh yes, I haven't told you yet. Spinel comes in many colors. I think this is the time for me to start changing the focus of this camera and showing you some details here. And perhaps before I do that, or as I do that, just opening my little jars here. I don't like having my gem boxes open, because if they're open they can jump. We don't want the gems jumping. But I will open them for you as I invite you into my studio here. I will show you some samples of different colors of Spinel, and I will also show you some gems that are in a related color but different gem. So I'm going to, please don't get vertigo as I try to, that's the wrong one. As I try to get you sorted here. We're gonna move over here and we're gonna flip you around. Here we have my little setup. I have some gems here. This is a garnet. You can see it's red. Actually, let me get a gem cloth out here. This is a garnet. It's also very dark red, but it doesn't have the same sparkle of a Spinel. And let's see, this is a ruby, which is definitely as red, It's a teeny tiny ring, by the way. This ring is a size 3 3/4. So now, no, this is not working as I'd hoped. Let me show you these. These are some of the spinels I have. And yeah, that's better. You can see that they're very red, beautifully saturated. Same in this one is actually slightly less saturated in this one. It's hard to show this under this light. These are also spinels, beautifully red. But this is kind of a very desirable spinel color. It's getting harder and harder to find this type of color. I wonder if it would help to put this on. I'm gonna try and see if I can do this for you. There you go. This is one that's a little bit more pink. And then they go even more purpley, like this. And I'm gonna try to make this lighter pink. There you go. And then sometimes they have a bit of a more of an orangey hue. The one thing about spinels is that they are not pleochroic, meaning they only have one color, they don't have two. So that's definitely a different thing about them. They sometimes become more purplish. And this all has to do with what, oh yeah, I think I already showed you this one. It has an inclusion actually. And sometimes they're more grayish. The little white things you see on there from this foam. I don't want to try wiping these right now because they might go jumping. So the color depends on what is in the gem. And these, I thought it would be nifty to show you. These are some Spinel Crystals. So they actually come out of the ground looking pretty amazing. These are just like out of the ground. This is what they show up as. And that's one of the things that's so unusual about Spinel, is that it is not heat treated, not treated for color enhancement in any way. They come out of the ground like this. Whereas sapphire, for example, has very acceptable heat treatments, not a problem. The only way a spinel is ever treated is by some oil filling, maybe if it has some tiny spaces that need to be filled. But isn't that amazing? I just find that amazing. I love these rough crystals. They're so beautiful. And to think that they come out of the ground like that. So that's part of what's so amazing about these. So these more grayish ones, the blue-gray is caused by iron being present, whereas the pinkish and reddish colors are caused by chromium being present. Isn't this a pretty one? Actually, I'm waiting to set this one. If you want me to make you a custom piece, this would be a great candidate. And then one of the things that's very, I'm going to take this off here, that's very much sought after, especially by gem collectors. I think I'm going to turn back around. Woo! Hello, took my glasses off. It is so hot right now. Is it hot where you are? I wonder. So yeah, the blue ones, the blue spinel, is sought after because the bay blue ones they contain cobalt, I guess in cobalt blue, and that's a very unusual thing. So the red is kind of the most desirable, but cobalt blue is like collector's item for sure. And they do come in like star sapphires in the star kind of type of gem. Super rare though, definitely a collector's item for sure. And what else? Oh, some spinels, They come out of the ground so pure in Myanmar that they are known as nat te, which means polished by the spirits. And I thought that was really cool too, that they come out and they are thought to have been polished by the spirits rather than having to be polished by a human being. Because a lot of rough gems, I kind of wish I had brought you a rough garnet. There's one right over there, but I don't want to leave you alone. Garnets, sometimes they look quite coarse when they first come out of the ground. They really do need to be kind of brought out, their beauty. So I think that's all I'm going to tell you about this. There's an article on my website under the expert advice part. The FAQ has an expert advice section where I often talk about jewelry related topics. And you can have a look there. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And yeah, sign up for my newsletter because I often talk about these things in my newsletter as well. So I'm sorry, the heat is really getting to me. I'm not sleeping. Are you also not sleeping? But I hope that you get something out of this, and I will talk to you next week. Let me know if you want to know about any special topics. Okay, toodaloo.